Look at my apple tree. Oh, she's so cute. My apple tree. And my jungle, my summer jungle, is coming to an end soon. My butterfly. Look at her. She's beautiful. Oh my God. Guys, this is the best part of starting the garden. The nature. Oh my God, it's so amazing. Oh my gosh. Now this cucumber over here, she is choking out my little sunflower. So I got to do a little pruning in there. I shouldn't have put them together now that I think about it, but those are eggplant and zinnias and cosmos. We got a little patty pan squash happening over here. She's doing good. The basil, cilantro, little nasturtium. Another cucumber sunflower combination over there. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just trying to save my seedlings. I didn't want them to fail. I started them a little early. These are either Chianti or chocolate sunflowers. I do not remember. Confessions of a New Gardener. I don't know the varieties of any of this stuff out here. I got so excited, started seeds. Everything grew up. They were getting mixed up. The labels weren't lasting. I have no idea what any of this stuff is. So welcome back to the corner of Whimsy and Bliss and my mystery garden. There's some more patty pan squash in there, which I love them. I don't remember if this is the multicolor variety or just one or the other. There's another little bag of zinnias and nasturtiums. Little tomato plant. Look at that butterfly. Hi. Hello. Hi. She came over by me. She was saying good morning. Hi. Look at these zinnias, guys. These are my very first flowers ever. My calendula finally woke up. So I know what the types of flowers are. I can tell by the leaf patterns. I've, learned a few things this first garden season, but I don't know the varieties. Look at that beautiful zinnia. Oh my God, the growth pattern is just so beautiful. Look at that. Oh, it's so wonderful to see the pollinators in the garden. The other day I was out here looking at the zinnias and a hummingbird just came by and she landed on one of the flowers right next to one of the butterflies. Oh my God, I nearly died. It's so wonderful. Look at that. It is amazing how these flowers grow. They're so stunning. Look. Just beautiful. And I'm just so proud because this is my first year trying to grow anything. And they just came out. They're just so pretty. And I just can't wait until I get better. Look at my little watermelon down there. You see it? Oh, look at her. I need to prune this bed out a little bit. It's too many growing in there. I want to focus the energy on, just one or two, being that it's so late in the season. I pruned this bed out, and then I just recently threw some more zinnia seeds and some more cosmos seeds in there. This is a 60-gallon grow bag, so there is tons of surface space as well as nutrients in the bed. So I feel like we should get another flush of flowers before the season ends. Quote unquote, our season should end. We're in northern Alabama, so our warm season should end. Oh, there's another watermelon. Look at, you see it? We are on track for our first frost to be about the 31st of October, but that never happened. So I'm trying to get as many warm season blooms and crops as possible, just so I can enjoy it. It's just so gorgeous. Look, the backyard is full of butterflies. Oh my God. Oh, this is what I've needed in my life. It's so wonderful. Oh, this one's beautiful too. Hi. Oh, and they're not afraid. A dragonfly. Oh my God. It's so wonderful. Plant the garden, friends. Plant the garden. Even a fall garden is going to be beautiful. Now, granted, it won't be as many pollinators or whatnot, but just the plants that'll be growing. Like, I think squash is one of my favorite things to grow right now because the plants are just so stunning. And for them to start from, like, this one was a leggy, weak, nearly dead seedling. And now look at it. It is just gorgeous. There's a zucchini in there growing. Can you see it? There it is. And it's doing well. Everything's healthy. Oh, so amazing. If these moths would leave them alone. Now, when I do plant the fall garden, I will have my raised beds in. They're going this weekend. They're going in Sunday. And I will be doing a makeshift row cover, crop cover situation to make sure that all of those warm season plants survive. Oh, something and laid some eggs on there. Yep, that's what that is. Got to get my shears for that. This little calendula was eaten alive. So I'm going to let the caterpillars have it. Hopefully they'll stay off the good stuff. Now this one, it needed a little bit more nutrients. I did fertilize it with something higher in phosphorus and potassium just to make sure it did have some nitrogen in it. Hopefully it will green up the leaves a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that we had production for the squash that's in there. That's also a patty pan. And then of course I wanted to make sure we got blooms from this gorgeous sunflower. It's so amazing, the different sunflowers. Look at the stems. Oh, I'm sure the lighting is off, but it's like a beautiful dark brown, burgundy-ish, purplish stem, and it's on the leaf as well. So it's definitely not going to be yellow. And I'm so excited about that. So here are some more seedlings that I've started. Now these are the fall, quote unquote, late summer, early fall type of plants. I have a couple more squash plants, a couple more nasturtiums. Okay, so on this tray here, there is sunflowers, squash, nasturtiums, beans. These are bush beans. There's some alyssum, zinnias, more beans, more bush beans, peas, squash. These are some little weak tomatoes. I'm sure they're not going to make it, but I'm trying to give them a chance. More squash, cucumbers, nasturtium, calendula, another tomato. I have some more. That little one right there is peppers. I know it's not going to make it, but I do have a greenhouse going in later in the month of September, and I'm going to try and overwinter whatever I can. These are more alyssums. They have started to sprout in just a couple of days, so that's exciting. Last night, we had to pot up this okra plant. It was in the larger version of that terracotta pot, and it just wasn't doing anything. It was healthy, but it just wasn't growing. And when I broke open the pot, which was so satisfying, I broke open the pot, the soil and roots and everything had taken the shape of the pot. So it was completely root bound and, wasn't able to do anything. So I carefully broke the pot, got the soil prepared. I had some spent marigolds, so I chopped them all up just to give it some protection in the soil, and then potted it up with nice, fresh, rich soil, some amendments and everything. So hopefully this 20 gallon grow bag will give it enough to kind of spread its legs a little bit, spread the roots out, and gain some momentum, because I really want to see some red okra. And it's such a beautiful plant also. So honestly, even if it doesn't produce, I don't like okra. My mom does, but I'm enjoying the plant. I'm gonna pot this one as well, put this in a bigger bag as well. That's some marigolds in there with it. They're not really doing anything either because it's been really hot over here. And then of course it's just too small of a pot. This tomato is on its way out, which is fine. This squash plant is, oh, it's such a yummy one. It's one of those hybrids that's yellow and green. And it's been doing really good. I had to prune it off a little bit last night and give it a little bit of fertilizer as well. Two of the same squash in that bag. And I really enjoy growing squash. It's so pretty. It's a beautiful plant. I love squash. Last night I was so hungry I didn't prepare anything for dinner. I had gotten off work and come straight into the garden. And we were out here until dark, you know, piddling around and doing stuff. And we were out here with solar lights and little battery operated lanterns. But when I went in the house, I was like, I need something to eat. I'm hungry. And I had two of those squash that I had harvested yesterday. And so I just sliced it up with a little onions, a little garlic, a little bit of cheddar, and some breadcrumbs, and just kind of sauteed it in the skillet and put the lid on it so everything melted together. It was so delicious. I love, love, love squash. So, yeah, over here, these are just like the little Home Depot plants that didn't really do anything. They kind of burned up, but I like having green stuff in the yard, so I don't mind it. That little pot is finally starting to sprout. I need to get it in the sun. I threw a bunch of zinnia seeds in there because I love them. They're so pretty. More zinnias, zinnias. This little sunflower, she's starting to, I had to move her into the sun too. She's starting to do a little something. I'm realizing these pots are too small. And I really like the look of pots, but I think what I'll do in the future is put only like small, low things like alyssum and baby's breath and, stuff like that. Little flowers just to add a little color around my shed. Now over here, I do have 2 beds that'll go in eventually. So this weekend I'll be putting down like the landscaper's fabric, and I'll be building out the beds, which I think I'll build them at 3x6 on each side of the shed door. And the way that I envision them, I want them just to be bursting with flowers and herbs. I want the sides to be spilling with alyssum and nasturtium. And of course, I'll change them out seasonally, but for right now, I plan on putting calendula, nasturtium, marigolds, zinnias, maybe some bells of Ireland, some cosmos. I will most likely put a couple of sunflowers in there. They will be like the dwarf teddy varieties because they are just so precious. Maybe a couple pansies, some more herbs, the fall season herbs like sage, oregano, maybe some chives. That's one thing that I do plan on doing for my garden. Because we're in the South and we have Jurassic pest, I have got to protect these beds in bags some way. So you'll notice that all of them are planted with companion plants. One, because I like the look of the full bags. I want them to look full and lush. because, you know, there's no greenery back here. There's no life back here. So I like to plant the bags so they're really full, and I'll do the same thing for the beds. But then also the companion aspect. If I can plant something that will trap something that will try to eat my crop, or I can repel something, that's what I like to do. So like these are my sweet potatoes. Now this particular zinnia, it wasn't this tall this morning, which is awesome. So marigolds and zinnias in this bag, or this barrel. There's some alyssums, marigolds in the sweet potatoes. The same marigolds for this one. Now I had a bunch of nasturtiums. There's one little one that's trying to survive. I had a bunch of nasturtiums and alyssum, but it was just too hot back here, so they died. So I'm still kind of throwing seeds here and there. I don't like bare soil, and I like the soil to be covered with flowers and herbs. So the herbs and things that are in these particular beds, I most likely won't use them to cook with. They'll just be used for, you know, the companion aspect. I will be setting up 4 beds this weekend, and they will be 6 by 6. And one of the beds will be planted with strictly herbs. So it'll have onions, garlic, leeks, as well as all the seasonal herbs. And then I'll transplant the different seasonal herbs as the seasons approach. But that's how that bed will always be used. There's only 2 people here, and I kind of went crazy and ordered a lot of raised beds. And obviously, once everything gets growing, it will be more than we can handle. So I don't need to have all of the beds planted with all production veggies. Like I can kind of do that. I can kind of have a bed that's strictly herbs and alliums if I wanted to, and still have more than enough for us. And then of course the extra I plan on sharing with friends and family and neighbors, you know, church family. Because I just like growing stuff. Just like to grow stuff. So we do finally have some help coming. This mess over here, the ugly before it gets cute, will be going away. The gentleman will be helping us tackle that mountain of soil. This mountain of soil, or excuse me, mulch. Now our beds are the Epic Gardening Birdies Raised Beds. I have a total of 14 beds. No judgment, please. So I have 2 of the 15-inch large beds, and then I have 4 of the 15-inch round beds. I also ordered 8 of the 30-inch or 29-inch medium-sized beds. Now, I do not plan on setting up 8 medium-sized beds. This yard is about 1/4 acre. But once you have a 16 by 12 shed, it does not leave a whole lot of room. So there's no way I could get another 8 beds in here. At the time that I purchased my birdies, I was trying to keep them uniform. I wanted all the colors to be the same. And they were selling out. Like I purchased my beds back in March. Everything was selling out so quickly, I couldn't get the right combination. The ones that I wanted the 30-inch, or excuse me, the 29-inch large beds, and I wanted them in like the cream off-white color, because my goal was to configure them in the 6 by 6 configuration. You can do that with just one bed if you're using the large. Now, at the time, I couldn't get any of the large. They were all out of stock. So I said, well, fine, I'll go ahead and get mediums. So I got 8 mediums, and I went with the slate color. And what I'm going to do is take the extra pieces from the 4 extra beds and convert them into the 6 by 6 beds. Once I have converted the 6x6, then it'll still leave me with enough pieces to do two extra 29-inch beds, and I think I'll convert them into like a two. No, I could actually do a 3x6. That's what I'm going to do for the two extra ones with the extra pieces. And I'll plant them just on the side over there so they're outside of, like if I'm sitting in my family room and I'm looking out the window right over there, I'll be able to see them out of those two windows. And that'll be like the kitchen garden with like, all of the culinary herbs that we use on a regular, salad greens, smoothie greens, tea blends, all of that will be in those beds right over there. Lots of flowers. I have trellises that will go up there to kind of give a little separation from the neighbor, add some beauty, of course. They'll be planted densely with tons of flowers, herbs, and veggies. But then, of course, then that leaves like this space that I'm standing in will be where the 4 big beds will be. And then eventually, once this pile of soil, mulch is moved, is where my greenhouse is going to be. And the greenhouse is basically the same size as this mountain, this stack of mulch. It's not very big. It's 8x8, which, it works for this backyard. I'm trying to have zones, little spaces where I can get rid of all of this crappy grass, like the backyard is uneven, the soil is terrible. I had to go the raised bag route because this is red clay, it's buried limestone. The ground is basically petrified. You can't even get anything in it. You can't drive a stake in it. We barely got the fence in. When the gentlemen were putting the fence in, they were using these gigantic, obviously commercial size augers, and they broke. So they had to literally chisel through this limestone in order to get the fence post in. It took them 2 days to get just the post in. 2 days of manual labor, which was, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful to these hardworking men. But seeing them struggle, there's no way there was any way that I was going to be able to do anything with this ground. So we had to do raised beds. And, the slope is pretty severe. And then, of course, the grading was poor. So we get down to about this space here, and it all puddles. So everything that I'm doing is as a way of working around the grading and the slope of the yard. I'm going to have sand brought in so I can make sure the beds are leveled before I can even get everything set up. Like, you can kind of tell how bad the slope is just by how far off the back the shed had to be. May not be able to see with the light, but like you see, it's close to the ground there, and like we had to hike it up pretty far in the front just to get it level. And then it gets even worse the further we get down into the yard. So that's kind of the logic on why I chose the beds that I did, the placement of everything. That's my office window right there. And I want to be able to look out of my office and see all the pretty things, see the greenhouse, which I'm trying to tell myself I do not need Greenstalks, but I really, really want 2 Greenstalks on each side of the greenhouse with like strawberries and herbs and flowers, just so I'll have something pretty to look at. And I can have my strawberries off the ground and, be able to control their growth a little bit easier. So I'm thinking about doing that. Our particular greenhouse, it is a greenhouse kit. So it's not probably going to be, like, it's not the cheap ones, but it's not one of the super expensive ones. So it's like kind of the mid-range greenhouses. So I'm going to have it built onto a wood platform because we do get a lot of wind here in northern Alabama. We get bad storms, tornadoes. So we're going to have it built onto a wood platform. The platform will be anchored into the ground some kind of way. And then, of course, so will the actual greenhouse. I am thinking about maybe once the greenhouse, the platform and everything is put in place, I'm going to wrap the greenhouse in wood along the base, on the back and the two sides, and around the front, leaving the door open, but, wrapping it so that the wood is also anchored into the wooden platform. And then I was thinking maybe I can use like hurricane straps across, or tornado straps across the top, anchor it into the ground underneath two raised beds, because then, you'd have the weight of the beds holding down the greenhouse as well. So those are the kind of crazy things that go through my go through my head, trying to solve for everything. But we'll see how that goes. Over there is my little, what I'm calling their garage. They've been coming through. The little one, I want to say that is, I don't know. I think it holds like, I don't know which one it was. I want to say it's the 12 cubic foot. This one is for sure the 12 cubic foot. And what I've been doing with this one, which is so neat, I lined it with the tarp, and I've been mixing my soil. So, so it's at waist high. It works as a workbench at this point. The soil that I had to get, because obviously when you're dealing with 14 raised beds and they're all deep, if you had to fill them with the top quality potting soil that, like the Fox Farms, the Happy Frog, Coast of Maine, Espoma, all of those really good potting mixes that are like $20, $30, $40 a bag. One of my raised beds, one of the 6x6 by 29 beds, takes 87 cubic feet of material. So if you think about that in terms of each one of those bags being 1 cubic foot of soil or material times, let's just say $20, and that's only one bed. I have multiple. So I've been mixing my soil. This mulch is going to go at the very bottom of each one of the beds, about halfway, because really these vegetables only need about 12 to 15, inches of growth space of the good quality soil. So I could fill half the bottom half of the beds with the mulch. Going to cover it up with cardboard. This has been aging since, I had all this delivered back in April, so it's been aging. It's now, it's August, 31st or August 29th today. So I think it will be okay. I'm not too concerned about it, robbing nitrogen. I do know that this particular brand uses vegetable dye, so I don't mind that it is the dyed mulch either. Of course, it's going to be the wood at the bottom, then cardboard, then it will be like a mid-range, a raised bed mix. But what I've been blending is what I'm calling like my magic mix. And it's specific to my area, because here in Alabama, northern Alabama, did you see the butterfly? She flew right at the camera. Anyway, here in northern Alabama, we do get a lot of rain. And so I do not want my beds to compact. I do not want them to be waterlogged. I want it to be a nice mix, a nice medium for everything to grow up in. I want a loamy soil. So I've been mixing horticultural sand, vermiculite, perlite, composted cow manure, as well as mushroom compost. I've been adding in worm castings, and then I add in something with a mycorrhiza in it, because I want whatever I'm planting, whether it's a transplant or a seed, to be able to pick up and sprout quickly. So I'm mixing it, and I'm mixing it in my Gorilla cart, and it's been amazing. The worst part about all of this is this bag mix. For whatever reason in this region, it has been a sopping wet, muddy, clumpy, wood, forest material filled mess. Now, there is still, the compost that's there, but I literally have had to dump it out on a tarp, let it dry out for days, then sift it to get out all of the big pieces of junk. And I mean, out of, I want to say 4 bags of compost, only 3 bags was viable. The rest of it was, I had the equivalent of 1 full cubic foot of junk that I had to sift out. Now, I used the junk at the bottoms of the at the bottoms of the grow bags, just to, give it a little bit of a lift and a little drainage, a little moisture retention so the bags don't dry out. So I'm not losing the material, I'm not throwing it away. Like, I've got to use everything here because the investment, right? But it's the added work that makes it very difficult. So the Gorilla Cart has made it palatable. Like, it's doable. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. It is time consuming, but at the end, I can sift through all the junk, get a nice, light, fluffy soil amendment that I can add in with all of my other amendments. That becomes this beautiful potting soil type of grow medium. And I mean, at this point, it was either put in the sweat equity or make the investment into 500 bags of Happy Frog at which I would have chosen the Fox Farms Coco Loco, if anything. But that in itself is like $35 a bag. And no, I'm not doing that. So I mixed it up myself, ordered all of the materials, and then ordered, the coconut coir. So I hydrate 3 bricks at a time, dump in 4 bags of whatever. That's about all that will fit in the Gorilla Cart at one time. And I slowly mix it up. This here is so amazing, and you may not be able to see it, but I left these here, these dying sunflowers, because I wanted the birds and the animals to have something to eat. And they're eating it. Yay! So it's working. I have an ecosystem. Anyway, I am heading back to work. I was just out here hanging out on my lunch break. It's funny, I have never been an outdoor girly. I've always hated the bugs, the sun. I don't like to get dirty or sweaty or itchy or stung or bitten or anything. But something about being out here in this garden with everything being so beautiful and lush and green is really doing something for me. So plant the garden, friends. Get out there. Enjoy some of this good living. But yeah, more to come from the corner of Whymsy and Blyss. Bye.